Hello, welcome again to Starting an Orphanage. Again, my name is Kenneth Acha. I think you've already watched the introductory message. And we're going to basically begin the class now. And I usually love to ask my students questions. I think by now, actually, before I go into the question part, by now you have already done your student introduction, and you watched my introduction, and then you introduce yourself. I'll be reading those. And one thing that I usually just want to ask students and get to understand about them is basically, why are you taking this class? What do you hope to accomplish? What is your goal? I think I want you to take some time to answer this question. I love for this online class to be as close as possible to the classes that I teach face to face. I love when I teach face to face and get to interact with students. And the online medium is a different way of interacting, but we still have interaction. But there will be places where I'll tell you, like now, to stop and answer a question. Why? Write it down because you're going to need to submit that. Don't put too much thought into it. Just why are you taking this class in 5 seconds? I told some of my students this in 5 seconds. Why are you taking this class? And here are some of the answers they gave. Basically, and I'm not going to name their names for their to keep them in to give them some privacy. Student number one basically said, the reason I'm taking this class is because I want to be more confident in orphan care. Okay, great. Student number two says, the reason I'm taking this class is because I want to learn how to start an orphanage. Okay, awesome, awesome. Student number three, I want to learn how to start a successful organization that cares for orphans. I don't want to start an orphanage, I just want to care for orphans, and so I want to start a successful organization. That's amazing. That's something that you would also get in this class. As a student, you may have other reasons. Some people come into this class who are not going into full-time orphan care. They may say, I just want to learn how to understand. I just want to understand how orphan care works and how I could support orphan care through my church. That may be your answer. Or your answer may be that I want to go start an orphanage and I feel God is calling me and I want to go do that. That may be your answer. Regardless of what your answer is, I want you to write it down right now and then you are going to submit it to me, okay? And so the second question that I would like to ask you is, what do you think is the most important thing you need to learn in orphan care? What do you think is the most important thing you need to learn in orphan care? Again, you have 5 seconds. Every time I ask a question, you should consider it as though you were in my class and I pointed at you and say your name, James, Grace. What do you, and there's no, you don't need to think and do internet searches or anything. You just respond as you would. And that's the kind of response I'm going to be looking for when you answer these 3 questions and submit them online. So, what do you think is the most important thing that you need to learn about in orphan care? Well, I also asked this questions, all 3 questions I'm going to ask. There are 3 questions that you need to write your answers and submit to me. I asked 3 other students in the class and got their responses. And student number one said, the most important thing I need to learn about orphan care is to do it in a way that is pleasing to God. That's an amazing answer. This is an amazing answer. And student number two says, the most important thing I need to learn about orphan care rather is how to be well rounded in every aspect of it, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every aspect is how to be well rounded. Okay, great answer. Student number three says, the most important thing I need to learn about orphan care is what is the best way to help orphans. Great. Now, what is your response? What do you think is the most important thing that you need to learn about orphan care? What do you think? Write that down and send it to me. Yeah, as many as students that will be taking these classes, the responses will be different. And I love that. I want to see what you are thinking and know how I could come along as your mentor, as your teacher, and help you be able to accomplish that. Okay? Now, the third question, which is a good one too, I think, is if you were designing this class, where would you start? If you were designing this class, where would you start? I think that's an awesome question. Now, you write the answer down. If you were designing this class, only spend 5 seconds thinking about it. If you were designing this class, what's the first thing you're going to start teaching people? Well, student number 1 says, I'll start teaching people the importance of orphan care, looking through the Bible, seeing what God says to teach, how to do it with excellence, why they should care about orphan care. A beautiful answer. Student number 2 says, I'll start by teaching people where mistakes have normally been made and then move from there to teach them how to avoid making those mistakes. That's an amazing, amazing response too. And the third student said, I'll start teaching them the facts, statistics about orphans, the true things that bother them, what work is already being done. Wow. When I got the answers of these 3 students, I was like, wow, this is an amazing way to begin this class, to look at things. And I am expecting all of you to come up with creative, well, just tell me what you would give as answers to this from your heart of hearts. There's no right or wrong answer, but your answers are going to be important because the way we teach here at Austin Bible Institute is that we try to make classes, even though they're online classes, to be dynamic. And so I may look at your answers and in a future week, I may respond and bring things into the lesson that would not be there if it were not for your responses. Because we want in the end for you to be able to learn and grow and go and do what God wants you to do. Learning needs to be personalized, individualized, and we try to accommodate that online using the tools that are now available to do that. So, well, if you ask me what is the most important thing that you need to do, what is the most important thing, the first thing you should learn about orphan care, do you know what my answer would be? My answer would be that you have to know your calling and you have to confirm your calling. You have to know that you're called into orphan care and that call is not something you feel. It's not something that makes your heart leap every time that you see an orphan suffering. That's a very, very good emotional response. That is the result of love because compassion is an expression of love. When you see the suffering of another person and you're able to empathize and really are drawn, and your heart just yearns that you would go out there and support and help make them better. That's a very good emotional response. A good definition for love that a guy called Vodi Bokam gave, which I often use in my classes because I think it's an awesome definition, is that love is an act of the will accompanied by emotions. It's an act of the will that then has emotions and leads to doing something on behalf of the object, leads to action on behalf of the object. So love is an act of the will followed by emotions, then leads to action on behalf of its object. I think Vodi's definition is awesome. And what kind of action and response usually happens? What kind of emotion? The emotion is you have compassion. You have compassion for them. In Matthew 9, at the end of the chapter, we see Jesus when he saw the crowds. He had compassion for them and he saw them like sheep without a shepherd. And so what did Jesus say to the disciples to do? He said, pray to the Lord of the harvest that he will send more harvesters into the field. For some people, the response to the compassion that you have, that emotional draw, is to pray to the Lord of the harvest that he will call and send more laborers. That laborer could be you, but it may not. could be you, could be sending. So the first step, I wish that everyone that takes my class were called of God to be able to go and serve orphans. But if I do not first start by challenging you to consider and make sure that you confirm your calling, then I would not be doing my duty to you as a brother who loves you. I would not be doing right by God. So I think there would need to be testing. And this is something you do on your own. You don't have to tell me. I am going to give you the resources for you to do that. But please do that, because there are many people, many people doing things that they say they're doing for the Lord today, but they're not following the Lord's will. But what I am excited about is that I know many of you have been sent here by God. You listening are probably one of them. Many of you have been sent by God to come and learn, grow, and go and serve Him. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the movement around the world now that God is stirring for people who yearn to serve orphans but want to learn and do it in the best possible way. So we're going to go through this course. Starting week 1 is going to be about calling and confirmation. Okay, week 1 is going to be about what? Calling and confirmation. And then we're going to follow, we're going to use a diagram that I created. And this diagram follows the work of a man called Dr. Aubrey Malphurs of Dallas Theological Seminary. He's a professor there, and he's also the leader of the Malphurs group. He has written some amazing works. I haven't seen the diagram. I just read some of his books, and I love the process that he follows. He doesn't have a diagram in there like the one that I share, but I just created a diagram from inspiration from this great theologian's work. He's an amazing guy. We're going to be using one of his books, and I think you would love it. So we're going to go through calling and confirmation. Step 2 will be preparation. Okay, and in this stage, which may cover several weeks, we're going to talk about why orphan care, why start an organization. And remember that this class, the key focus, orphan care is broad. Starting an orphanage is the title of the class. Starting an orphan. Hopefully you don't start an orphan, you start an orphanage if God really is calling you. And we'll talk later on about what really I mean by orphanage. And that's something that somebody might think should go into week 1. I think later on, the goal of this class, we're going to teach you, by the end of this class, you will register a non-profit, you'll register an organization and have a name and a document set. I'll give you the information how to go about that. Of course, I'm not going to be there with you to do that, but I will teach you how to go about it and everything going through that. Again, we'll start with getting you from your dream to your vision and then going to until you launch. So there's going to be a lot of material to cover. I'm going to streamline it. This class is an introductory class. There's no way I could cover everything about how to start an orphanage in this one class. It's an introductory class, but it would introduce you very well. We'll touch some of the biggest and most important things and then guide you on how to pursue others in the future. So we'll look at calling and confirmation. Then we'll look at preparation, the why. We'll look at personnel, the people, the who. So why, who, and then we'll look at the process, the how to go about starting an orphanage, the how to go about starting a non-profit organization that takes care of orphans. And you could follow any of the models out there. It's not only orphanage that you can use. You could use that to do family-based care. You could use that to do many other kinds of orphan care. Okay, you could do adoption. You could do many different kinds of orphan care. So you'll be seeing this diagram online, and I'm really excited that you're in this class. I think this class is going to be awesome, and that we're going to get to do a lot, and you'll learn and grow and serve God well. Now, a little comment before I close this segment of the lesson. For your books, a few of you may have your books delayed. Don't worry about that. Even though I have books for every week, there's a flexibility there that you don't have to have the books in week 1. The books can come week 2 or week 3 and you could catch up. But do the reading as you have time and catch up, okay? Well, I'll see you in the next lesson.